So suppose that you have $24 in the bank, okay, and you have 6% interest. So here I took the $24, you look at the top, you see that's the B1 number, and I've just multiplied it by the interest rate, 1.06. Okay, and so I keep doing that. You know, here I've multiplied the thing above it by 1.06 again. So I keep investing the money at 6% interest, and over here I've invested the money at 7% interest. Okay, so anyway, after 12 years, you see that $24, you know, this is year 1. So at year 12, $24 has become 48. So it's a very good approximation. And so 7%, you know, it's supposed to take a little over 10 years. So at 10 years, you're not quite there, but 11 years, you're past it. So you can see how we're starting with 24. You can see how good the doubling rule is. Okay, so that's just something to keep. So we can now do in class lots of concrete examples without having to take out our calculators and stuff, because we can do them in class, in your head. All right, so let's just do that now. Okay, so in fact, why did I pick $24? Well, this is a famous story you hear in 2nd grade. The Indians sold Manhattan for $24 in 1646. So how bad a deal was that for the Indians? It looks incredibly stupid, but actually, you know, interest accumulates pretty fast. So if you look at 6% interest, okay, so 360 years gets you to 2006. That's a sort of round number at 6%. So at 6%, how long does it take to double? It takes 12 years to double. So that means at 6% interest, you're doubling every 12 years. So in 360 years, you're going to double 30 times. So in your head, you can figure out that doubling every 30 times, you know, doubling 30 times is 2 to the 30th. And of course, 2 to the 10th is something you should know. It's 1,024, you know. So I'm sure you know that number, right? 2 to the, okay, so it's one, anyway, that's a good one to remember. 2 to the 10th is about 1,000. So 1,000 cubed is about a billion. So basically, 24 becomes 24 billion. So at 6% interest, they sold Manhattan for 24 billion in today's dollars. So that's pitifully low. But if you look at 7% interest, you can do the same calculation. So at 7% interest, you should do this in your head now. So it's going to double every 72 over 7 years. So there are 360 years about. 360 is a very round number. So 360 divided by 72 over 7, that's 5 times 7, it's 35. So 2 to the 35th, well, it's like a billion times 2 to the 5th, which is 32. So it's $1 becomes 32 billion, but we started with $24, so it's 768 billion. So now you're starting to get a little bit closer to what the value of Manhattan is. I mean, the value of all the real estate in the country, all the houses in the country, used to be 20 trillion. I'm not sure how far they've gone down now. Let's say they're 15 trillion. So 15 trillion, you add commercial real estate, you know, maybe in the whole country that's worth 25 trillion, or, you know, 20, but that went down too. So let's say 20 trillion. Now, how much of the 20 trillion could possibly be in New York City? I've actually got no idea. But it can't be that much more. You know, the whole country is 20 trillion. New York can't be worth much more than 1 or 2 trillion of the 20 trillion. So, you know, you're not that far off. So the deal's not that spectacularly bad, although it sounds ridiculous. Anyway, the point is you can do this in your head, and we can, okay. So now the next thing that you realize in this example is how huge a difference a percent makes. So why is that so important? Well, managers, hedge funds, we all charge a percent interest. So look at what's happening. I mean, if you look at our Indian, you know, investment of 24, and you look, I don't know how many years you want to look over, but you can look over, you know, 36 years. That's a sort of typical, you're young making an investment. When you get old, what's the, you know, what's the difference? This was the 6% growth, and this was the 7% growth. This is the difference, and this is the, I guess, the percentage difference. So it's 28%. Of course, I didn't label these, but Yeah, so this is the difference, and this is the percent difference. So the percent difference, okay, so that I just showed it to you. Over 36 years, it's 28.6% difference. So a typical, you're putting money away right now. You might be giving it to some fund. You might be investing it in your, whatever fund you're investing in it, they could be charging 1% interest. And it seems, what's 1%? It's a tiny amount, 1%, But over 30 years, they're taking 28% of your money, 36 years. With the Indians, over 360 years, we saw that it was an astronomical amount that they took. They took almost all your money, right? So, I mean, look at the percentage that got taken. So, 768 billion versus versus 24 billion. I mean, what could be, it's astounding, okay? So giving 1% away to a money manager is giving away a fortune if you think you're going to stick with the money manager for a reasonable amount of time. So if you want the secret to how hedge funds make money, that's the first way they make it, the most important way. They charge a fee that sounds small, but it adds up over a few years, and it amounts to a huge amount of money. Now, you can make it much smaller. Why does it amount to so much money? Because the money that you put in the fund, you're keeping in the fund. So it's growing and growing and growing. So they're taking 1% of your $124 today. That sounds like nothing. But the money's still there. And now, 40 years later, they're taking 1% of a much bigger number. That's why the number gets to be so large.